Andy Burnham described the death of Professor Jason Arday as a tragedy on so many levels. He captured something much deeper than the sorrow of an individual death. He pointed to a collective failure, a failure of compassion, of institutions, of public discourse, and perhaps of our willingness to remember that behind every headline is a human being. Adi was only 41. He had become a Cambridge University or the Cambridge University's youngest colored professor in 2023 after overcoming significant difficulties in his early life. His death came shortly after he resigned amid intense scrutiny over allegations concerning his academic work and wider questions about claims he had made about his life. He denied plagiarism while a previous investigation by Liverpool John Moores University had upheld the awarding of his PhD. Cambridge subsequently announced another investigation after receiving new information. None of this means that academics, universities, or public figures should be immune from scrutiny. They should not. Allegations of plagiarism and questions about professional qualifications deserve serious evidence based investigation. Accountability is essential to the credibility of higher education, but accountability is not the same thing as humiliation. There is a profound difference between asking difficult questions and turning a person into a public spectacle. Once criticism becomes relentless ridicule, once every aspect of someone's life is placed under suspicion, and once a human being is reduced to a symbol in a political or cultural war, something has gone badly wrong. That is why Andy Burnham's call for reflection matters. He did not say that questions should not be asked. He said this was not the moment for rushing to judgment, but for asking how events came to this point. That question should also be directed at the media. When does legitimate investigation become persecution? Journalism has a duty to expose wrongdoing, but it also has a duty to recognize proportionality, context, and human vulnerability. Adi's family have said he endured sustained abuse and harassment and described the campaign surrounding him as overwhelming. Those claims deserve careful investigation rather than either automatic acceptance or dismissal. His death does not settle every controversy surrounding his career, nor should it be used to silence legitimate questions. The tragedy, therefore, really is on so many levels. It is a tragedy for the family who have lost a father, a son, a brother, and an uncle. I want us to listen to Prime Minister Andy Burnham, and we'll be back.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy on so many levels, but particularly just for everybody who knew Jason, his family, obviously, his friends. We think of them today. It's not a moment for any rushing to judgment. It's a moment for reflection, I would say, reflecting on how things came to this. A really sad and sorry state of affairs, and I think we just all today think of Jason, his contribution, and his family and friends.
I want us to take a look at high profile figures facing plagiarism allegations. I would have this the picture on the screen, but these have not been humiliated in any way. The way Jason Arday was really humiliated. Now let's take a look at this on the screen. Can we just take out the lower third? And if you see those on the screen, that they also faced plagiarism allegations. You have Rachel Reeves, who we know was a former Chancellor of the United Kingdom. We have Nicola Morrison. We have William O'Reilly. We even have Joe Biden. We have Melania Trump. We have Monica Crowley. And then we have Jason Arday. If you notice, what has happened here is that none of them were subjected to so many public spectacle the way Jason Arday was. He resigned, he's left his position, and eventually he was found dead in his home. And the professor that spoke to him also said 3 hours. He spoke to a professor 3 hours before his death, who was one of his friends. He clearly said that Jason Arday said he could no longer continue because of the way, especially the media, made him a public spectacle. I have joining me today, he's also a professor, that's Professor Chris Imafidon, who is a professor here in the United Kingdom. In many universities, he's actually served. And he is going to be telling us more about plagiarism in our academic system and if this was actually warranted on any level. Professor Chris, you're very welcome to the program, sir. Hello, Professor Chris.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for coming, Professor Chris. Professor Chris, can you hear me, sir? Okay, I think I'm hearing another voice, but not yours. Would have to come back to you, Professor Chris. I'm wondering why that happened. But Professor Chris is going to be talking to us about plagiarism here in the United Kingdom, in the universities. And I just want to also go to something I've observed about the universities here. Cambridge is not just where you have plagiarism. For plagiarism or implied plagiarism, if we look at the number of cases that have propped up in our various university, University of Oxford actually has the highest. It has 16 cases of plagiarism or implied plagiarism. King's College London has 7. The University of Nottingham has 7. University College London has 6. University of Sunderland has 6. The Montfort University has 6. Imperial College London has 6. The University of Sheffield has 6. Newcastle University has 6. University of London has 5. University of Cambridge has 5. So we do have quite a number, and these are just not all. I've just listed about 11 universities here in the United Kingdom that has cases of plagiarism, but the University of Oxford has the highest number with 16 cases of plagiarism here in the United Kingdom. Just like Andy Burnham said, this is something that should be looked into. Of course, there should be questions that should be asked. And when it comes to the death of Professor Jason Arday, there are legitimate questions that should be asked. But criticism and investigations and questioning shouldn't be turned into humiliation, because there is a difference between accountability and humiliation. They are not the same. And we should also remember that behind every headline or every statement made, oh, Dr. Chris, you're back, is a human being. Professor Chris, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Like I was saying, plagiarism is endemic. Wherever you get human beings to write anything down, there's a temptation for some individuals to cut and paste. So at the basic of it, that's endemic. But what is required in scholarship is for you to acknowledge the source of that information, or to acknowledge what they call a reference, to say, Mr. X said this yesterday, but today I'm going to say this as an addition to that. So this is not about plagiarism. That's what I'm trying to say. Like you listed, there is a table every year published by the Retraction Watch of how many professors have cut and pasted in their field. So this is not about standards at all. This is about a public humiliation, a public lynching of an individual that is perceived by other persons out of envy, jealousy, racism, not belonging to the same socio-economic group, and then publicly making him a spectacle. That's where the line is crossed. Because if you are investigating plagiarism, you don't publish it until the outcome, until the verdict. And his PhD in Liverpool was investigated, and guess what? Ticked as okay to be a PhD. First time. Second time, some people raised eyebrows. The university was externally then contacted, and it was checked again, and that should have been the end of it. If it was anybody else, that's the end. But in his own case, in the case of Professor Jason, no. They came up with something else about his personal life, with something else about the athletics he did, with something else about the charitable work. So they left, you don't need to be a fundraiser, charity fundraiser, to be a professor in any university, let alone Cambridge. You don't need to run any marathon at all to be a professor. So why didn't they keep it to his professional life and whether or not he's capable of delivering the classes? Because I had the good fortune also of meeting him in October 2022 for a dinner. And he was a very humble, honest, gentle human being. So that is why it's so painful. Going to the vigil, getting ready to go to the vigil now is incredible that such a human being, I will not be able to see him again. It's difficult because this is not at all about what the media is portraying it to be.
So what you're saying is that this very clearly was an attack on his own personality.
And as a vulnerable adult, he is not, quote unquote, a stable human being because of his background in autism. The mental health of individuals with autism are 4 times, according to Professor Simon Cohen of Cambridge, more likely to be suicidal. So if you employ a staff that you know is vulnerable, what do? You protect them. You give them guardrails, no matter what is happening. So when he resigned, I knew something has gone way too far. And the fact that there was no protection is something that every Black, brown woman in academia today need to reflect on, because you are not your job. You're bigger than your job. If you lose your job, lose your qualifications. There are people without GCSEs that are working right now. No GCSEs, let alone if you lose your job as a university professor. So what? You've got other skills and you've got other abilities.
So you said the institution he was working for, Cambridge University, did not protect him enough.
It is very evident that the media speculation came ferocious. And as an institution, 800 years old, you by now must have understood the media. You can't tell me you don't know what the media is up to. They can hound down ministers. Look at what happened with Angela Rayner. I mean, look at what happened with Louise Hay. I mean, these are public figures in Westminster. They were pulled down by headlines upon negative headlines. So if you see that noise, if you know that happening to your neighbor, not even to your employee, to your neighbor, you've got to come out and protect them and fight for them.
That culture of humiliation, it's definitely not right. There's a difference, as I was saying in my opening remark, there's a difference between accountability and humiliation. But it was very clear that he was humiliated here. But if you look at what we have on the screen there, you can see these are high profile figures facing plagiarism allegations, and we have them on the screen. But we've not seen any of them really humiliated the way Jason Arday was.
That's what is different about him. That is what is unique about this particular case study. Because it's not an offense that is punishable by death or even sacking. Let me tell you the truth. There is a Professor William O'Reilly right now, as I speak, that was not just accused, found to have plagiarized. Guess what? he's still teaching in the same university at the same time. There's another Professor Nicola that you put in there that is right now, as I speak to you, is still a professor in Cambridge. So what I'm trying to say is that plagiarism is not new. Tomorrow, another professor, I take it from you, and I can give you a guarantee. Tomorrow, another professor will plagiarize. Tomorrow. Next week, another professor will cut and paste. What do? There's a software for verifying this. I have a software that I use on all the submissions that my students make at every level. You run it through Turnitin in, it gives you what is the similarity index. From there, before you mark the word, you know what percentage of that body of text was cut and pasted from anywhere. You know where it was copied from. Because they are sophisticated intelligent software that grabs everything now. So this is not, it's beyond even conceiving that this could have been a plagiarism issue.
But the
Was a
question
witch
then
hunt,
is,
was a smear.
so it's a witch hunt. That's what you're saying. By who? A witch hunt. A witch hunt.
By a section of the media engineered by Nathan Coffers, a former Cambridge, a disgraced Cambridge academic who started this whole thing all over again. He's been on the job for more than 2 years. If you employ anybody, a year is enough for you to know, probationary period, to know whether the person can do the job or not. Do the job, you terminate it. But so why is it that his competence was not questioned in delivering the job he was given to do? That he had to take a rumor by another person that hates his kind to write petitions and then start bombarding the media with a whole host of falsehood, total falsehood. But as a PhD student, it is not even his responsibility to check plagiarism. It's a supervisor that checks it. Then you have the internal examiner. Then you have the external examiner. Were all this done by Liverpool? Yes. Did they find anything wrong? No. If they did, they would have cut it down and given him an MPhil, a Master's of Philosophy. But they upheld his PhD to tell you that this had nothing whatsoever to do with academic integrity, scrutiny, legitimate scrutiny, or upholding standards.
Thank you so much, Professor Chris. What you're saying is that this was clearly a witch hunt, and a section of the media took it upon themselves to really humiliate him for whatever reasons or motives. I'm sure some investigation eventually will be carried out on what really happened to him and how it really came to this. As Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, said, it is a tragedy on so many levels. But thank you for joining us today and really explaining what has
Thank you.
been
I hope Andy Burnham
happening.
takes some action. That's why we sent him a letter to carry out a public inquiry, not an internal inquiry, a public inquiry. As a Prime Minister, he has the last say in education. Between him and his Education Secretary, they should carry out a public inquiry.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Chris. Thank you for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for watching Talking Politics. Today we've been taking a look at what is happening in our universities. And Professor Chris Imafidon says there has to be a public inquiry into the death of Professor Jason Arday. Well, when we have updates to that, we'll be bringing that to you. Professor Jason Arday was the youngest colored professor in Cambridge University. Thank you for joining us today. You can send emails to info@lovewooduk.org. God bless you.